Alright, now we're going to go ahead and jump right into the ground pour. And the ground pour is just a way of connecting all of your grounds. So we'll make sure we're in the bottom layer. We are going to do polygon, and I want to make sure because we're working with just right angles, I select the right angle. So I start in the one corner and I will move to the other, left click, and then finish the shape of our outline and call it ground, G and D, because this is going to be our ground pour. And now I have the outline, hit rat's nest, and rat's nest will fill it all in. So you can see the spacing between everything, and this is set by our DRC. But if it was connected to ground, like right here, it is connected. Now we've connected our grounds to these grounds via the ground pour. And this makes it nice, especially on large embedded systems where you have lots and lots and lots of things connected to your ground. You could just connect them all easily like this. So if you want to make an adjustment to it, go to your selection filter, do polygon edge, and do rip up. It's just how you would get rid of a trace as well. And now we can go in and change the spacing. So for different signals, the spacing between our wires, I can increase it just because it was pretty close before, and you can see now, look how much more space there is between our ground pour and here. And now I want to change the spacing back because it's probably going to give us a lot of errors in other places. And anytime if I need to redo my ground pour and I want these large space, I can just go back and change it in DRC. Now I'm just wanting to change my clearance back to 6 so that it doesn't give me all the errors when I run my DRC errors. So you can see right here I'm getting a lot of AirWire errors, but I'll just clear those and recheck it later. So now if I list the errors, I don't have any errors, which means all of my constraints are followed. And that's where you would make sure that before you send this off to the PCB manufacturer, everything is still good. So now if I want to move something, I can still move it. I can move traces around and then just come back and do rat's nest and get my ground pour. So it's not too late if you still want to move anything. If you want to delete a trace, you'd use the rip up. If I didn't like the way that was, now just Control Z that back just to show you. And here we go, rat's nest. You can see the spacing changed because I moved my spacing back to 6 mils. Now if I run a DRC, I'm getting these air wires, so if you click on it, it'll show you where it is, and sure enough, I don't have a trace connected here. This one I could just ignore because it's saying there should be a trace between the ground and this via, but we know it's connected, so you kind of just have to take it with a grain of salt. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this trace. It wouldn't have been a huge deal. It wouldn't have it would have still worked because we know that those two legs are connected in the tactile switch itself, but it's always a good habit to make sure everything's connected. I don't like the color of this just because the blue is really dark, so here's how you would change that layer to something a little bit lighter. You can see a lot better. And now let's go ahead and turn on our names and values, and Also, you can see here that there's something interfering with this pour because a piece of that shape is taken out. And it's still doing it, so gonna have to troubleshoot this for a second, figure out what's going on. Oh, now I know what it is. It's the dimension. So you can see it's actually those dimensions are affecting the ground pour. So if I go to the dimension layer, turn those back on, at this point I'm just going to delete them because it's more important for me to have everything working. I'm not sure why the dimension layer affects the ground pour, but I'm sure you could probably change some of your DRC settings to adjust that. One way we can just do this easy is with the selection filter set to dimension. Just grab everything and delete it. So now if I do the rat's nest, there we go. The ground pour is much nicer. And that is your ground pour.